This is Pastor Tim Prince from Faith Community Church, and this is our bonus episode for the Kingdom First Church and Nation podcast. I am joined today by my good friends Paul Adams, Dan Fosterling, and Daryl Standafer to share with you just a little bit about the realities of serving in local government and in other places in government. I have invited these guys to join me today because each of them consulted with me on different levels as I was doing my research for the Church and Nation series, and I really, really enjoyed those conversations. There was one in particular where Daryl and I were down at Dunn Brothers talking about some of my questions, and I wished I'd just had some kind of recorder going because it was such an easy, fun conversation and eye-opening for me. And so I just asked if they would join me and just share a little bit about what it's like to actually serve in local government. Before we do that, I'm just going to have each of the guys introduce themselves real quick. So, Paul, why don't you go first? Let the people know who you are and where you serve.
Sure. I'm Paul Adams. I live here in Hudson. And my wife, Lori, moved here in 2013. And I'm serving on my second term on the St. Croix County Board for District 6.
All right. Thanks for being here. Dan.
Okay, well, if I have to follow that kind of format, I've lived in Hudson since 1988, and I am currently serving as a town board supervisor in my third term, and I've also served on the county board.
All right, Daryl.
Thanks, Tim. I'm Daryl Standafer, and my wife Jan and I have lived in Hudson since 1989. Mm-hmm. I served 20 years on the county board, a couple terms as board chair, and now I'm an official has-been. So I'm pleased to be with these two guys that are still in the arena.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thanks for having us here.
Oh, yeah. That really is my privilege. So I only really sent you one question. We'll just see where the conversation goes today. My question for you guys is, what do you wish Christians understood about what it's really like to serve in local government? And I don't even know who should start first. Who wants to go first?
Mm-hmm. I'll start with something. So, the thought that came to my mind is, first of all, that most decisions are mundane, that we come more to serve. And by the way, there's never enough good servants, with the purpose of doing what is best for our community without personal favoritism, and with integrity and civility, recognizing that the path for most things have been well-trodden in the past.
The path for things have been well-trodden?
Yeah, in terms of a lot of the decisions, a lot of the framework is already there.
I think for me, what I would ask for people to know is the people who serve on boards and city councils and town boards are people just like them. And we're trying to navigate life, but also serve, and to try to make decisions and spending decisions for the best interests of us all, including those on the board. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it's relatively easy, and sometimes it's not.
When does it get to be not easy?
When you have decisions that need to be made where there's a lot of emotional... the word I wanted to say was baggage, but that's not necessarily the word. But where the issue is emotional, where there's a lot of contention, where people have kind of gone to different camps, that's when it gets tough.
Gotcha.
I think it would be great if, and I think you phrased it, if Christians knew. But I think it would be great if Christians knew that serving in local government and on boards and councils, city council, local government, which is really important, was two things. One, it's necessary, and two, that it's honorable. We tend to ridicule people that are in public office because they become easy targets. And I've probably done it myself. I'm ashamed to say. But as Paul said, there are people like us, and someone needs to step forward in all of those positions and do it. They are mundane things. The roads need to get plowed, and the garbage needs to get picked up, and there are things that help a society function. And so people serving in those positions, it's necessary and it's honorable.
So one of the things I came under conviction about in preparing for this series was the way that Scripture talks about leaders, and honor was one of the words that came up. So another follow-up question would be, how should we honor elected officials, especially when we really disagree with the way that they're doing things? How would you have wanted people to respond to you and show honor to you when you were doing, you weren't on the same page?
Well, I think it's a matter of respect. And I think it's helpful often to separate the personality and the position.
Mm-hmm.
I think we respect people that serve in positions because it is necessary to do, even though the personality that might be there at the present time and maybe someone at next election may not be as deserving of the respect, but you still respect the position and the fact that they are currently occupying a position of authority. And the Bible talks about the God raising up people in positions of authority and leadership. And I think you respect that position.
Other thoughts on honoring people you really
I was
disagree
just thinking of the urge or the admonition to pray in 1 Timothy, and we're specifically challenged to pray for kings and other people in high positions. And the prayer is that we would lead a peaceful and quiet life, godly and dignified in every way. And what's amazing is, we can pray for those things for our leaders also, but it's interesting that the focus is on us, that how we live. And so it is important, that in terms of how we deal, with our government, that, we do it in a godly and dignified way.
Do you have any thoughts on that, Paul?
I would add that those who are in service, when the people don't like what decision you help make, just continue to treat me as you would if you saw me in front of your house or at a baseball game.
Are you talking about angry tweets, angry emails, angry texts? Is that what you mean?
Well, yes. I mean all the above.
Going on Facebook and splashing, Paul
boom,
Adams.
boom, boom. Yeah. And we'll stop right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's important that we continue to love each other in a godly manner. I agree with Dan in terms of prayer for elected officials, because none of us has to do that. We could easily be on the other side and just have our arrows and rocks. But, the Lord has called something on us to campaign, sign up, to serve, and move on. So, yeah.
Okay, it's one thing to say. Were you going to add something?
I was thinking of a situation when I was on the county board where I tabled a referendum that was endorsing marijuana, and
I brought that. No,
and it was kind of interesting because there was a very significant contingent there, and I was accused of being a coward, for basically tabling it. And, to act on that. But it was kind of interesting because, one person, sent me a note, actually, and I responded back. And fascinating that the person actually apologized. And it was, it was unique, I guess, but it was kind of fascinating. And I think, that attitude, regardless of the fact that he was on the other side, I thought was pretty amazing.
That's good. Good to hear a good story. Good.
Yeah, I had a similar situation, but not quite as hardcore as that one. It involved a more recent Second Amendment resolution that had come up before the county board, and it had gone back and forth. And the final point, it was at the Public Protection and Judiciary Committee, and so we had a vote on that. And I didn't support that because it just wasn't right for that time. And I remember looking to my right at some neighbors who were not happy that I didn't support that. And I just had to look, I just kept the look going that, hey, this is what I feel needs to be done for this point in time. So that it was tough.
I would imagine that as hard as it is to disappoint your political enemies, that disappointing your friends, neighbors, and political allies would be even much harder.
Yes, it is. Yeah, it's tough.
So, speaking to Faith Community Church, okay, when we're disappointed with an elected official who we know is also a brother in Christ, does that change at all the way that you want them to process that with you? Doesn't have to. I'm just curious.
It shouldn't.
Okay.
But I think at times we get invested in issues and we see our position with that issue. We want to see others in our camp.
Yeah.
And so it becomes tough when our elected official doesn't support what we want.
You ever had did I interrupt somebody? Sorry. Have you ever had a Christian brother or sister reach out to you and say, I love you, I'm committed to you, and I support you, but I really think this was a bad call, and I'm just letting you know. You ever had that happen?
Yes.
Oh. And that was good. It went well, or?
Eventually it went well.
Okay.
It was tense for a while.
Oh.
But it healed.
Okay. Like over 10 years or 10 months?
Months.
Okay.
I'd say months.
Yeah, I would think for people considering public service, that would be one of the number one fears. Is I'm gonna have a lot of friends who don't like me anymore because I take a principled stand or something.
Mm-hmm.
Here's another question I've been considering. I think a lot of people avoid.
But you'll also have friends that, unless you take a principled stand, are going to be upset with you.
Yeah.
So I think the right thing to do is take the principled stand.
Yes.
Because you're going to have people one way or the other. You better do it right.
Yeah. That's good. I think a lot of Christians avoid political engagement, political entanglement, and also just running for office because politics just looks like such a dirty, messy, nasty business. And even just watching how we run for office, I'm not thinking of local officials at this time, but I'm thinking of what you see on the news, the way people run for office. It feels like the only way you're going to win on the ballot is to get real nasty and real mean. I guess my question is just, what encouragement would you have for a Christian brother or sister who's even thinking about this, considering running for a school board or something like that, and is concerned that I don't think I can be a good follower of Jesus and serve if this is what it looks like? If I need to open a Twitter account and start just really slamming, the other side to ever get elected, what encouragement would you give them? Or, and part two of the question is, let's say you got a 19-year-old kid in front of you, and he's considering a lifetime of public service. Like he's looking at college, he's looking at early career decisions through the lens of, I would love to be in the Senate, when I'm 55. What encouragement would you have for him? Maybe those are two totally different questions, but I'm just curious.
Well, I want to take just a little bit of a right or left turn.
Okay.
I won't betray my preference here. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I would discourage anyone from thinking of public service, let's call it that for a moment, as a lifetime occupation. I think that's one of the things, frankly, that's wrong with the way we look at politics right now, is that we think that it ought to be a career. You run for this office and then you just keep on going, and pretty soon, you're 65 or 70 and you spent your whole life in elected office and you never had a real job, as they say. You never met a payroll. You never did anything significant. In other words, you never saw real life. I think.
So you tell them to go get a job and start a business and raise their kids.
Get a real job. I think the idea of our founding fathers of a citizen legislature, your turn comes, you step forward, you're in public service for a little while, then you go back home, someone else takes your place. Mm-hmm. I think that is the ideal. Now, you'll probably always have some people that are career politicians, and I'm not saying that's illegal or morally wrong. Mm-hmm. I just think it's not the preferred model.
All right.
Yeah, I think that on that, Tim, you did a great job in identifying that there are different spheres for the family, church, government, and we have to respect those boundaries, I would say, and to Daryl's point, there's that adage that says if you give a person as his only tool a hammer, every problem is a nail, and there is this point where in government. We start thinking that government is the answer for everything, and that's something we just have to resist, even if you're in for a short time.
Like I would add as a agreement, my brothers here, that staying in public service for extended periods of time, I think you can get extremely prideful. You can forget why you're really there. And then you become susceptible to outside influences that want to use you to get what they want out of that particular entity. So I would agree with Daryl that, that washing in and washing out of people to serve is a value.
Mm-hmm. Okay, back to the earlier part of the question then. Someone considering a run for office and saying, but there's no way I can do this without getting dirty, being contaminated by it, what would you tell them?
Well, I would say, just from my own experience, that, prayer, a calling of the Lord, and being true to yourself would help that not happen. As for me, I signed up, I filed the papers for my first run. I walked my entire district by myself. I was a campaign of one. And it was very enlightening to walk up to somebody's door, push the button, you make your pitch, you have something to give them, and then go away, and you feel like you were, putting eyes on your fellow neighbor and saying, I want to serve. I think that can help you not feel like you're being compromised.
Get any doors slammed on you?
I did not.
Oh, okay.
Some were not open all that long, but I didn't get any slammed on me, so that was good.
Good.
Yeah.
How about you guys? Encouragement to somebody that's even considering political engagement is like, but there's no way to do it without getting my hands on
I think you can do it, in a way, that's good and civil and all of that. I mean, there'll still be people. I mean, I've had people slam doors on me, and so that's a little bit unnerving. But at the same time, you just have to do what you think is right. This isn't a job for the person who's concerned about how they appear, especially in round one. But that said, one of the reasons why I actually engaged in public service to begin with is that I was commuting into the cities, and I wanted to become more involved in my community. I wanted to get to know people, and I've had great opportunities in terms of just getting to know people, being developing relationships that have been beneficial, good, spiritual, and so I'm glad I've done it.
I didn't know that. That's good.
Yeah.
How about you, Daryl?
I think we should be careful in thinking that politics or people that run for office are somehow different than other people. I don't think politics in and of itself is any dirtier, using your word, than any other vocation. It can be brutal. There are people with pretty sharp elbows, but pick any vocation, and it could be that same way if people are trying to climb over someone else to get what they want. Almost any profession. I think politics doesn't create that. I think politics maybe brings it out. You know, we're all born sinners. I mean, let's face it. By the grace of God, we are able to overcome that because someone did it for us. But politics, I don't think, causes people to be dirty and nasty. It allows people to be dirty and nasty in a very public arena. Now, if you are in some other vocation and you're doing those same kinds of things, you know, blasting someone on social media or, you know, stabbing someone in the back by gossiping or spreading false rumors, well, the public doesn't see that. God sees it. I mean, you're still doing it. But I think we need to be careful in thinking that politics is uniquely dirty. It's not.
That's interesting. Okay, because I you know, from time to time I hear okay, what you see on Twitter, Facebook news, to me, is uniquely nasty, awfulizing. You know, my opponent has never done anything right in his whole life. He's never made a good decision in office, and he is absolutely the worst. And then, you know, you'll talk with people who know that politician personally, and they say, you know, he's actually a really nice guy in person. And, you know, I'm always like, so is there just kind of this culture of like, if you're going to run for office, understand you're going to have a staff team, and they're going to be sending out tweets on your behalf and putting together attack ads, you know, that maybe you see, maybe you don't. That's from the outside, that's what it looks like to me.
Well,
and I'm kind of like, boy, I just don't know if I would want to be a part of that process. So what would you tell someone, you know, so they don't enter it naively and say, here are the lines that you don't cross or whatever? Would you just...
Unfortunately, we have discovered, we being the public, the public has discovered that negative campaigning is often more effective in gaining votes than positive campaigning. In other words, if I can get enough people to vote against that person by voting for me, then that's a plus for me. And unfortunately, that has been proven demographically to work. I'm sad to say. It'd be nice if people would respond to, you know, I'm really a nice guy. Here's my platform. And if you vote for me, this is what you can expect. As opposed to saying, you know, if you vote for that guy, that's what you can expect. But that's the one, unfortunately, that has become the model.
Heck, I think at the local level, it's a lot easier to not be negative.
Yes.
Because, you know, you see your neighbors at County Market or at Target or, you know, in and around the community, whereas at the, you know, above, I'll say above the county level, you know, it's so big.
And also what you said earlier, Paul, when you went out, you were a team of one. You didn't have the back room, boiler room, as they call it.
Yeah,
the boiler room was not sending out the negative tweets and the stuff. You know, it was you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had someone tell me once, local government, running for local government is one thing. Once you get to a state level or a federal level,
all bets are off.
he used a different word, but he made it sound like a different kind of ball game. And
yes.
Anyway, all right. Anything else that you would want to share with Faith Community Church? Things you wish your brothers and sisters knew about what it's actually like governing here in the St. Croix Valley, or anything like that?
You know, one of the things that I thought of is just having, you know, it's important to have a framework, I think, you know, as you go into you know, politics. And one of the things I think is to remember is that you're a steward, you know, for your community, and government as a general rule always is looking for more power, more benefits, you know, either for itself or for, you know, other people. And so it's important to recognize, you know, that you are spending other people's money It's a lot easier to spend other people's money than your own sometimes, but you have to think about it as if it's your own. And I think that's an important factor.
Like I would add that it takes time that those who serve, correct, could be doing other things. If you're going to do this kind of service well, you're researching, you're talking to department heads, you're getting tours of areas that may come up for votes, and you're kind of making yourself known in your world so that when you make those votes, you have the proper knowledge. You're also responding to emails that come in from your neighbors, and being respectful, and at least letting them know that your part of government as a representative works because you responded. At least they got a response. And I've gotten several people who have said, hey, we just appreciate a response. I don't agree with that, but thank you for at least responding. That's what local government to me is all about.
So saying yes to the school board, for example, then means saying no to leading a small group at church or something like that. And Christians should understand, that you're serving in a different place.
It could.
It could.
It could.
Yeah.
It could.
Yeah.
It just all depends on who you are as a person and, how you divide up your bandwidth.
Okay.
But yeah.
One of the flash points in our world right now are local school boards. And one of the most important places probably for people of goodwill to be serving. I feel, as a pastor, I kind of feel myself needing to talk Faith Community Church through how to interact with a school board who's making decisions you really think are wrong. Coach us through how you would want people at Faith Community Church to respond to school board members if they make decisions that we think are really out of line. What do you want? What is the best way for a Christian to respond?
I wonder to a great extent, how much liberty the school boards actually even have. There are so many state mandates, things that come down, from on high, that I find in talking to school board members and staff that there isn't as much flexibility as a lot of people wish there was on the local level. And the thing is, it's a big organization too, and I don't know, you have to have a pretty aggressive school board to be able to manage that because it has a life of its own.
What I hear you saying is,
I think give your school board person cut a little slack, but I do think it's important to still interact and find out what's going on. What's behind it? What's the motivation? What kind of liberty do you actually have? To make a decision the right way.
Okay.
I think that's good advice. I'm friends with a couple of the school board members, and I know they have a tough job. And I've got a number of friends in Hudson over the years that have served on the school board, so I think I've stayed fairly close to it, even though, interestingly enough, when we moved to Hudson in 1989, none of our children moved with us. It was right at that time of life that none of them ever came here. They were off into college by the time we moved here. But I don't think we respond to school board members on a particular issue, frankly, any different than we would anyone else that has had to make a particular decision or is facing a decision. We go to them with our point of view out of love and respect. And we say, this is what I believe, and here's why I believe it. And if we've got a biblical worldview, we say, I believe it because this is what the Bible says. And we express our point of view, and then we leave it. They're going to need to make a decision based on more factors than just us. And other people coming to them than just us. But if we go to them, we're on the record. We've said, here's what I believe and why, and take that into consideration.
I think I would want to add, don't assume that you know why they made the decision that they made. They may be facing alternatives you don't know anything about.
Yeah.
Because what goes out on social media in particular is always awfulizing the leadership's decision. Like, this is the stupidest thing that's ever happened, and of course any common sense person would never make this decision, and aren't they so dumb? Vote for so-and-so, And as a leader, it just creates an almost impossible environment, I think, to lead in, rather than what I would want faith community people doing is reaching out to their local leaders and saying, can you help me understand why you made this call? Because this is my understanding of what the best decision would be. But anyway, all right. Thank you guys for your time today. I just appreciate you so much. And Faith Community Church, I thank you for tuning in today. If you have any more questions, you can always reach out to these guys.
These guys, I'm not in office anymore.
He's a has-been.
I'm a has-been.
Well, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks
for
having
being
us.
Yeah, for being a part of Faith
Thank you
Community
for having
Church,
us.
too. You guys make us better. So thank you. All right. God bless you guys.
Yeah. Bye-bye.